Hello, everyone. Today we are starting part two of my occult fantasy village. If you missed part one, I'll link to that above here. And check that out before watching this one if you don't want any, finished spoilers. Granted, the thumbnails kind of give you an idea, but if you don't care, continue watching if you haven't watched the first one yet. So, we have already done the witch's house, the vampire house, and a house that could be either for a plant sim or a fairy if we ever get those. So, now moving on to the mermaid house. With this one, I went with a modern vibe to it, but it definitely includes all of the fun island living elements, or not all of them, but a lot of them. I also went into this with an idea that we're going to pretend that maybe the witch has put a magical bubble over this house so that it's always warm, sunny, and summer. Not just the house, but like the exterior. So it's in like a magical bubble, okay? Because it is the only one that has palm trees and all this other stuff around it by the time I'm done. But again, it's a fantasy village, so it works. It fits the theme just fine. So with this house, again, I went modern, and I did try with all of these houses to use as much as possible from whatever pack the occult came with. So lots of island living stuff in this one. I do play around a little bit here with how to do the outside and how I wanted it to look. Uh, I I wanted a pool because mermaid, she needs water, and and then it was just kind of how am I going to make this look? So luckily, by the time I had started this part of the build, we had a couple of new packs out that included some fun like waterfall features. So you'll also possibly notice from if you watched the last video that the waterfall behind this house um has changed. I went through and added the new waterfall rocks that you see here into that waterfall to kind of make it run better. I will say this is a little bit of a laggy build. Now, if you guys have gaming PCs, it might be different. It might run better, but mine isn't a gaming. It's not a low-end laptop either, but uh, it uh, it lagged a little bit. So here you can see me kind of going through and changing some things around. You can see I took the pool out and had to redo it. Lots of things going on with this one. So I also did a little bit, you could see, I was gonna wait till the end to do like adding in the bugs and all this stuff I was gonna put in. And yeah, I I did not right there. But it's okay. It's okay. We'll all be fine. All right, so I wanted to create kind of a feel that this was a very private pool. So, the mermaid could kind of just go out and, lounge in the pool in privacy. Um, I think I have it where Sims won't be able to go back here unless they're invited into the house. If you use like for rent to play this. I explained this in the last video, but there are multiple ways you can play this lot. You can use for rent. If you have Discover University, you could use the roommate system from that. Or I think it would be fun to play as just have it as a generic lot and use it as almost like a resort hotel type situation. where you just come visit and your Sims can stay, as long as you want them to, and just kind of hang out in each house. So that might be kind of fun. So here, this one is really the only one that I did landscaping for as I worked on it. And that is because I really just wanted to get it in and get the look right, because I knew kind of what I wanted to do with the rest of, everything else was going to work together. This was the only one that had a lot of different, different landscaping, because I used island living. So, and this is what I meant by she's in a bubble. And that's kind of how that house is going to work, because she's a mermaid and she needs nice, beautiful, tropical, stuff. So, anyway, you see, kind of getting this done. I didn't know what to do with this living room. I struggled a little bit with that, so that's one reason I went and did outside and then came back. Um, Eventually, I figured it out. Love it. I used as much island living as I possibly could. And of course, lots of this kind of teal blue color going on. So, yeah, I think it's a bright house. I think it reflects mermaid. That was kind of what my goal is, or was with this. The first two builds I did in the last video were very dark. So it was kind of nice to get into where it was very bright and, I don't know, more tropical feeling. I actually built this, I believe, toward the beginning of summer. And so that was kind of nice. I was just getting into that summer vibe, in real life. So that was kind of fun to reflect that in this build. I will say this bedroom is probably one of my favorite bedrooms. I just like how it looks. It's very like vacation vibey. And I don't know. I really like it. When I went through and took the photos, I just kept looking at that photo going, I want that bedroom. So, task check done of making this look amazing. Uh, so that makes me happy. And then, of course, I have to put, just a little outdoor area here, because most of her yard is really a pond that you can't use, and the pool. So I wanted to put a few things out here, put the hot tub out. So again, water access. I can't remember if that counts as their water access or not, but I put it in anyway. I don't play mermaids much. Actually, I don't play mermaids at all. So, yeah, if you are new to the channel, I am working on an Occult Legacy challenge, and I will be playing mermaids in that eventually. Right now we are doing Strangerville and the gameplay with that, and that's been fun. I haven't done that yet, so that's been a fun experience. Alright, so you can see here I kind of played around with some roofing on this one. Wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it. But originally I was just thinking of using the island living little wall thing that you saw me use. I didn't like it. I didn't like how it looked. So jumped over to a regular roof, and I'm happy with it. Now just adding a roof area there, finishing touches to this to an extent. Um, and yeah, lift it up, add some stairs, and go from there. So I will have to say with this house, I did have to go through and change a few things. For some reason, the back stairs, they weren't working correctly. It still has pretty much the same look. You may not even notice I changed anything. But it might look a little different if you're somebody who's really good with detail. All right, so moving on to the next house. And this one is going to be our alien home. And originally my thought was to do like this crazy ultra modern thing. And then I decided, well, I mean, I'm still going to go a little different with it. but I didn't want to spend too much time on this one and, have it eclipse the others too much. But I do like how it turned out. I play around with it quite a bit. I wanted it to have a little bit of a futuristic element to it, but we also only have so much in the Sims game. Part of me is like, dang it, why didn't we get that futuristic pack? I needed that. Um, I voted for the other one. Okay. But um but yeah, I think it turned out pretty cool looking. I like it. My storyline with this whole village is the aliens came and settled here. So they have this nice big house. They have a family going on. And then they decided to invite various occults as they made friends with them. Um, the one thing I will say, there are no, regular sim houses on this one. So it's all occults. I mean, technically the plant sim, they'd have to be a regular sim at times. So, you know, but, or they don't have to be, but you know what I mean. So maybe we can count that one as technically a regular sim household. So you can see playing around with this, I really did want to keep it more of a small home. These weren't meant to be tiny homes or anything, but I wanted to keep it kind of a small home. And this one just kept growing and growing and growing. So that is where I came up with that theory of they started this whole village. They're like, they're the people that, or the aliens that run the place in a way. So you'll see I do play with this roof quite a bit. And it changes throughout the build as to what I'm doing and how I'm going to make it look. Again, I wanted to get kind of a futuristic type vibe to it. Mostly, I did think about using the tool mod to create something, but honestly, I haven't perfected that thing yet. And I still am a little bitter about the fact I went through and did some world stuff and took it out and forgot to put it back in before I saved the file I had worked on. It's completely my fault. It has nothing to do with the tool mod. I did it to myself. But but pretty much I haven't used tool mod since, so I might take it out and play with it again sometime soon. But not too soon. Alright, so the other thing is the windows might look a little funny because I don't think I used the ones that actually went on rounded walls. So, yeah, if they bother you, take them out, put something else in. I just didn't care. I'll be honest. I just didn't care. So, I do find it kind of funny that, it's an alien house and they have tons of windows. But, as I said, this is kind of the occult village. They're not gonna care as much about people seeing them and what they are doing. Alright, so I really loved how this looked about here. And then later on, I realized I forgot to do something. So you will see that roof line has to change a little bit. But it's worth it. That's all I'm saying. It's worth it. But I do like it that way. I think that's kind of cool. Alright, so furnishing. I went modern with this build. Again, just because it fit the vibe of the house. Couldn't really go, futuristic type modern, but I think I pulled it off pretty well. It's just a very modern home. Also, I went with the idea that they are not clutter people. They are, they put everything away. So there's not a lot of clutter in this. There's a little bit, but there's not a lot. It's a very like museum-ish feeling, and that was intentional. So I wanted that kind of something's not quite right here vibe. So I think I pulled that off too. I will say, trying to use the get to work pack with this was interesting because again, we have aliens in that, but it's not centered around aliens when it comes to build stuff. I used a lot of debug, especially outside, and so it was interesting. So this house really could be any regular Sims house. Um, it would work. It's kind of cool that way. So you might want to change the landscaping around. So you're just, like I said, adding in a few things here and there. Keeping the counters very clean and clutter free was um my goal there. I did put the pressure cooker on the counter. We're just gonna say they're making a meal, so it's out. Uh, and yeah, just kind of went through and got all this. You can see me here playing with these windows because they did look funny. And eventually I take them in, I take them out, and I ended up with the same thing. And again, the windows hated me, but that's okay. All right, so moving upstairs, and this is the kids' room. And I pictured two kids. They share a room. They have their bunk beds, and I think this room turned out pretty cool. It could be for a young child or a teen, or both. However you want to do it. It's very versatile in that way. But I did put two young kids in here, so I pictured boys, and so it's very decorated for that vibe. That being said, girls were working here as well. My older sister would have loved this room as a teen. I like the black aspect of it, but I would have wanted, I think, more of like, I was into the celestial stuff. I was a child or teen in the 90s. That was everywhere. So think the Crystal Creations kit. The wallpaper from that was literally what I had on my walls. To an extent. I had paint and then I put stencil stuff up. It was a whole thing. So anyway, moving on to the parents' room, which I decided again to keep kind of basic, not too crazy in here. I did go a little bit more warmer colors, so we've got a little bit more of a brown. Put in this little vanity area, but there's not a whole lot in here either. So just a heads up with that. I, again, went with that kind of clutter-free thing going on. They have just enough to make it look like they might be normal, but they're not. So you can see there, I was debating about putting in some of the fun little items from, the Get to Work pack, but I decided, no, I don't want them in the bedroom. So they do go in eventually. I'll just say that. They do go in eventually. And yeah, but decorating this area up was fun. I couldn't make up my mind what I wanted to put here. So I figured, well, let's put in the art easel because that's classic. And then I was like, maybe a seating area. Then I realized I wanted more seating stuff in the kids' room. I went back and forth many times trying to figure out what to do here. So I did decide to put in some planters in this spot, and then the little board from the Parenthood pack. And this is where I remembered what I wanted to do outside originally. So things changed up a little bit, and I put the flying saucer on the house, and it makes me happy. So did that, changed some other things around a little bit because of that, but also decided to add in this upper story in the roof where all this fun stuff will sit. It's very basic. You can't really decorate in the roof area, so there's not a whole lot, to make it look really pretty, but there's definitely, some fun stuff up there, and it is usable. You should be able to go up there. I was able to. And, do some things. So because I had this flying saucer area, and now I decided to go ahead and build like a little outdoor patio for them. And I think this turned out pretty cool. I play around with columns quite a bit. I couldn't make up my mind. I really couldn't. I was just like, do I want this? Do I want this? I was trying some new stuff we had. I was trying some old stuff we had. Yeah. So I believe this is what I finally decided on was those columns. And then just some fun stuff. So I kept it dark while I did the rest of this. Trying to figure out some cool lighting. I may have taken the lighting off eventually. I don't think it looked right. There was some issue with it, I believe. I can't remember if I ended up fixing it or not. It's been a little while since I worked on this house. So that might be there. It might not be when you download it. But then I just created this outdoor little, dining area for extra stuff. We had this extra space to use. So that's what I did. And I think it's cute. I think it's fitting. Definitely a different look than I originally thought I was going to build with this house. But I love how it turned out. It works. Okay, so here you can see I'm kind of playing around with all the alien stuff. Trying to get some landscaping in that fits the vibe. It was fun. It was a lot of fun to try to get this all to work. But I did. I got it done, and it looks good. But, that's what I, as a builder, does, is I spend all this time trying to make this all look good so you guys can download it and play with it right away. It's what I do. It's what I do. Alright, so put in these, all these, fun garden items also that are the more alien world looking. And again, we're going to say like, the witch has cast a spell for any Sims that come out, they don't necessarily see it this way. Or they can, depending on how you want to play it. I know some people prefer not to play with occults, and other people do, but if you're playing with this village, I'm pretty sure you want to play with occults. Though you could easily turn any of these into a regular house for any Sim too, so none of them are too crazy. Alright, so moving on from the aliens, and now we are going to the werewolf's house. And I wanted to put this back in the back corner because who I pictured for this house was maybe a younger man who has just become a werewolf. So he has moved into this village because he needs either the aliens or maybe the witch to help him through this transition because he doesn't, I don't know, something is up with this. He doesn't know any other werewolves. He just randomly got bitten, that type of thing. So this house is more rundown. And, he purposely just left it kind of blah looking because he felt he was just going to ruin it anyway. That being said, it's a fun house. It'd definitely be fun to play in and like update it as, your werewolf grew up, or as I said, you could just play as a regular sim and have this as an update house. It also work really well with for rent, and you could be a slumlord. I mean, options. I give you options with this build. So, I will say with the werewolves pack, and I'm finding that out in some other builds I'm working on, is that they really kind of gave us build items that um were somewhat usable, but then if you wanted to use like the windows with the wood siding that they have in the pack, it doesn't always look right. So yeah, I wish they had given us a wood window without the stone trim. I mean they did one, but it was, it's a small one. So I would have liked that, but it's okay. It's fine. It still works and looks good. So that is what matters. Alright, so I put the chimney in, figured he needed a fireplace. We're going to give him a fireplace. And struggled to figure out what one to use. Ended up using this one. And then, of course, I've got to try to use, the sofa from Werewolves as well. So, uh, just kind of playing with things, trying to fit as much in as possible. At this point, I'll be honest, I wasn't sure how well this build was going to go. I was struggling with a lot, but I like it. It turned out better than at this point I thought it would. It's slowly coming together here, but yeah, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this build. So you'll see that I move outside, uh, add some things, because I just couldn't figure out what I wanted to do inside. So I jump around a little bit here. Bear with me on that. But I had to. I just I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. So decided to put this like camp bed in there. Of course, have to put the big, werewolf thing up there. And just kind of going through. The curtains are fun. I really, up until I did this house, had done too much building with the werewolf spec. I did do a werewolf trailer park. I'll link to that above. And that was fun. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed doing that quite a bit. Um, but yeah, I really, other than that, hadn't done a whole lot um, with the werewolves pack. So yeah, so this was a fun build in that aspect. And I'll have to say, I absolutely love this entryway table area. It just turned out so much better than I thought it would. There are quite a few little items that I had like either not seen or forgotten, well, probably saw them, but forgotten about to use for this pack. So that was cool. That was nice. All right, so here we're gonna put out some clutter, unlike the last house. So we got our fruit bowls. We've got a whole bunch of different things here, and yeah, I think it looks good. It really used a lot of the wall stickers to create kind of a dingier look, and that was fun. So then creating this, outdoor uh, kind of fire pit area, and debug fencing. I love the debug fencing. I think that looks so cool out there. It just fits that whole vibe of the house. So that's kind of fun. I'm just adding in a few things that kind of makes it feel, I don't know, a little more rundown. That was kind of my goal with this. I will say I had some trouble next to it because everything wanted to float up with the waterfall that's there. But eventually I get it figured out. Uh, and it turns out pretty cool. I will say there's a few areas that things might change a little bit back there, but you should probably see that coming up soon. If not, it does change a little bit back there. Not much, but a little. Um, oh yeah, like right here where I'm playing with this. So yeah, working on the outside now is what I'm doing. So getting all the landscaping in that I hadn't done yet, kind of figuring out what looks good and what doesn't, and just going from, all that. Now, here I wanted to do a more community space down here. So you have the fishing pond and a whole bunch of other fun stuff here. And just kind of finishing out, playing with a few ideas as to how I want to do that. And of course, putting random things in random places because that's what I do. Okay. So at the first, I thought it might be fun to kind of have this dock area, or not really a dock, but a deck area, and have maybe like a grill up there and a table. And eventually I realized that it wasn't going to work the way I wanted it to with the rounded platform anyway. So play around a little more and go, okay, I'm going to put this big kitchen area up here and make this nice little, community grilling space thing. And then I realized I hate it. So we go to a few picnic tables by the pond and kind of make it a little more, I know, like not so extravagant. And I think it was just nothing was looking right with everything else. And that was kind of my thing. I'm like, this, even though there wasn't, that we have all the modern buildings, there was enough that had that more, you know, rusticy type vibe that nothing was working for me anyway. So, all right, so landscaping around the vampire house and adding in lots of trees. My entire goal with this house was to just completely surround it with trees so that light could not get in at all. Because I still wanted windows in it. I didn't want to not have windows. So, put, trees all over the place. Alright, so now there's going to be a lot of movement. Sorry, I was going to try to warn you before it started. But I needed a drink at the wrong time. So, decided to throw in these fun trees here. I had to. I mean, it's a fantasy village. It's got to go somewhere, right? So, went ahead and put this one in. I have no idea if these work when you put them into a lot. I guess we'll find out. I did not play test that. I forgot. And also put the magic bean tree in because why not? That ruined some of my stuff. I had to play with other things to get that in. But I like it. I think it fits the theme very well. Alright, and now just kind of playing some more with this pond area, making that look a little good, a little bit better. Adding in all the fun landscaping stuff and just kind of finishing up the build at this point. Again, this took quite a while, many months. Not because I worked on it constantly the whole time, but just because I was working on multiple things. And my goal with it was really to treat it like I was working on each house as its own build. But I think it worked out pretty well. And I think it'll be fun to plan. I will say this pond frustrated me to no end. When I first built it, it frustrated me. And even now, decorating it and putting all the, landscaping around it frustrated me as well. But it is pretty. It is done. I don't think anything's floating. Um, and I think it works pretty well. So, yeah. And I did have to add, you had to add a few of the fun alien type mushrooms to it. It's a fantasy village, of course. So kind of went through and did some of that and just added in some overgrowth to make it look a little more, I don't know. I picture fantasy and I picture a lot of, wild overgrowth and stuff like that. So that's kind of where I went with it. And I think it turned out pretty cool. I do hope that you guys will download this because it is a fun build. As I said, unless you have a gaming computer, I wouldn't necessarily recommend playing on the lot. Um, Now, if you want to, and it is slow, take out all of the waterfall stuff. That will speed it up. Uh, I did try that just to see if it sped it up, and it did. So it's not as bad as when I was using the debug waterfall. So hopefully it'll work better for you if you have to take out some of those waterfall rocks. Again, if you don't have that pack, you won't even download those, and it'll just be a wall of rock. So that's an option as well. All right, so I'm going to let you guys take a look at all the photos, and I will be right back. All right, so once again, I do hope you guys enjoyed this build. It ended up being a lot longer than I planned on, even with a section missing. Check out the first video for that information. But anyway, this was a labor of love. I really enjoyed doing it, and I hope you enjoy playing with it. Please make sure to check out my next video. It's the Occult Legacy Challenge, episode 4. That'll come out on Friday. And then next week we have Return to the Tony Refresh series. And it's a special Halloween edition that will continue each week for the month of October. That's all I'm going to give you right now. All right, I do hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye now.